Hi and welcome to all of you who have not been here yet in the Goddess Temple. And I talk about it a lot, so I thought perhaps you would like to see what we really do here. And today I am a Melissa. It is what I started when I came here. That was in 2012. And my friend and I had done 2 years of circling with the Goddess Temple. That means that we went to all of the seasonal ceremonies and we celebrated with the priestesses. At the time, we didn't realize that there was a way that we could serve the temple without being a priestess. And it was only when we had a conversation after a Samhain ceremony, when other priestesses were still holding the space throughout the night, and we asked if we could be part of that and join them and sit with them, and they were quite happy to have us, that we realized that there was a way that we could serve the temple without having to have the priestess training. And so what we did is we sat and we learned about how to welcome people into the temple, how to smudge people, how to explain Goddess and how we see Goddess to them, and allow them to just sit and relax and release. Often people come, they play with the cards, they lay themselves some cards to get some guidance, they speak to Goddess and they ask her if she can give them a signpost, a sign to show them which way to move forward in their lives. Sometimes they just release and tell Goddess all of their sorrows. Often these are people that have no one else to talk to or don't want to talk to their families, especially if they have health issues or health concerns or concerns about money, and they don't want to trouble and worry anyone else in their immediate family and friend circle. So they come to the temple. Sometimes they just wish to sit here and soak in the atmosphere of a divine feminine Goddess that is back into the world, that was brought back into the world by so many women and men who felt that it was needed in the world. And I always tell my students about Gerald Gardner, who was in truth one of the first people who openly and publicly started talking about Goddess, and he had a wonderful way of doing that, a very unique way of doing that, that didn't appeal to everyone that listened. So he had a woman join his group, a lady called Doreen Valiente, and if you are interested at all in Wicca, as they called it, or the craft of the wise, which is what we all call it now, you will surely have seen her beautiful poem called The Chant of the Goddess, or The Charge of the Goddess. So that is when we invoke, call in Goddess into our body, and we do that by speaking her name, and we call her into our body so that we are allowed and are able to speak her words through our mouth. We call this embodiment here in the Avalonian tradition. It is a wonderful practice and I love doing it. And often she comes through whether I want to or not, but it's always for the good of the person. I remember one day standing as a Melissa here in the temple, and a lady came and told me all about her love life and how she had been disappointed by somebody else yet again, and she felt that she could never meet anyone in her life that would help her. And to my greatest astonishment and embarrassment, Rhiannon came into me. Now, I don't often work with Rhiannon. Rhiannon and I don't have a great relationship, but I am a vessel. So she came through, and in the way she came through was by singing bird songs. Rhiannon has the birds that are songbirds, and she came through with bird song, which astonished quite a few people who were sitting in this temple. But her message to the woman was very clear, and the message was this: if you let go of expectations that are unrealistic, if you open your heart to all possibilities, you will find the one for you. And 6 months later, I was walking down the street, and to be quite honest, I don't recognize everyone who comes in the temple. We see a lot of people. And 6 months later, a lady stopped me in the street and said, "It was you. You were the one that told me I would find someone that would be just right for me. And you won't believe it, I did find him. I did. And as always, I said to her, like I do to all people that think that it is me that says these things, I said, you were speaking to Goddess. All I was is her mouthpiece. All I was a vessel. And I'm so glad for you that you found the person that is right for you. And they invited me to their wedding 2 years later. I couldn't go, unfortunately, but I still get messages from that lady about how happy she is, and now she's got a little girl of her own. And I believe, and that is part of what I'm doing here, I have faith in the Goddess, and I have faith in her ability to make things happen if you open yourself up. So I always say to my students that Goddess is very practical. If you ask her concisely and concretely for what you need, she may well appear and help you out with that. There is a song by Garth Brooks that is God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers, and I just move it to God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. What I mean by that is sometimes we ask for what we want, and that is not the best for us. That's not to our highest good. And when we here in Avalon say surrender and trust, we really mean it. If we wish for something and that something does not appear, there is always a reason why Goddess hasn't made it possible for us to do that thing or have that what we wish for. In that way, I would like to invite you all to surrender and trust, to ask Goddess concretely for what you really need, not what you want, but for what you really need. What is it that you need? And then put your energy behind it. That is the way of the magic that works for us here with Goddess. Goddess is magic. You know, Cerridwen behind me has the great cauldron of possibilities, of transformation and change, but also of inspiration and of manifestation. She manifested so many things for me because I keep the faith, and I ask her for things that I know will be good for me. I don't ask her for things that are not possible, that I know that are dreams, or, you know, and some dreams come true. It's just keeping the faith, holding fast, even when things don't happen that you wish to happen. There is a reason, and that is where the faith comes in. There is a reason for everything, and everything has a reason. And for us here in Avalon, we are in a bubble of Goddess love. So much goes on in the world that we are not really touched by, not because we close our eyes, but because we are protected in a massive bubble of love and light from the Goddess. And in this case, we are often talking about Nulava, but there are other goddesses here as well, I'm sure. Whoever you speak to, whoever is your goddess, whomever you call in your daily life, she is present. So you can imagine, especially in a place like Glastonbury, where there is a goddess temple, and the first goddess temple for so many years, millennia really, that when we call in the goddesses, there is like a big powwow circle of goddesses, whether they're called Hecate or Isis, Rhiannon, Bridget, Cerridwen, Nulava, Lady of Avalon. They are all here in our circle. And it makes my heart sing. It makes me trust completely. It makes me feel like we are never alone. That whatever we are bringing into the world is meant to be there. I know that so many people have lost so much through COVID, and as we go along, there will be more loss. But I do also feel that there is a reason why we have to let go of the way of life that we have been following for so many years. That undisguised greed, that undisguised wishing for things to be better all the time without ever taking responsibility for the damage that we do to the natural world and to the people around us. That there is not that faith that what we have is enough. Look around you, count your blessings, give gratitude. I can't say that often enough. I know people start getting bored with what I say, probably, but I really want you to know that when you look around, I see my grandson smile at me. I see my husband walking around with a silly bubble head because he found it on the side of the house, and realized it was his, and picked it up, and was really glad to find his favorite hat again in the move that was what's lost. It's the little things, the little silly things that we have memory of. I was just talking in our Sacred Sounds about my grandmother and her friends sitting around drinking coffee and brandy, and eating lots of bad cake, and having a good old, what we called coffee clutch, just talking about the world, what was going on for them, and having community and unity and supporting each other. Women have always sat in circle. Women have always supported each other. It is not only in the recent memory that we have sort of been driven into our own houses, and we don't see a sister from one week to the next, and that is really sad. I feel that I would like to ask you to go out and meet up. I know COVID, all of that, but meet up and greet people, even if it's a 2 meter, and just make sure that your sisters and your friends and everyone is okay, that they're not struggling with loneliness and sadness. It is a wonderful world, and when you step outside your house and you see the sunshine and you see the light frost, like this morning there was a light frost on the leaves and it sparkled in the sunlight, I give gratitude for that. It's another year that we've had that many people haven't had. So giving gratitude, counting your blessings, and asking only for what is really necessary, and in a way sharing what you have. In the Cerridwen group, we talk a lot about what we can do to make things better in the world, and we like to be practical priestesses and priests, and we're talking now about how to help the homeless. And one of the things that I learned from someone in Swansea when I was in Wales was that one of the things that a lot of homeless people struggle with is they have holes in their shoes, and the wet goes into the socks, and they get something akin to trench foot. So fresh, clean socks are a great gift to the homeless. Often homeless people have dogs, and they eat the human food that the homeless people are being given by kind strangers, but it's not good for the dogs. And the dog is a companion. People say to me, why do they have dogs? And I'm like, why wouldn't they have a dog? Why wouldn't they have a companion? And somebody who protects them, because it can be dangerous on those streets. So have little bags of dog food and pass them out to the homeless people. Not the big bags from the supermarket. Homeless people can't carry them. Have small bits. Toothpaste, toothbrush, soap, things like that are always gratefully received. Do not make the mistake of believing the hype that everyone who's homeless has brought that on themselves, and that everyone who's homeless is addicted to some sort of substance. A lot of people become homeless and will become homeless in the near future because there's no jobs and rents are high, and more people are closing their doors. More institutions are closing their doors. So look around, open your eyes, see where the help is needed, good practical help, and have a conversation with a homeless person. What they really need is for us who are safe, who have houses, who have homes, who have families, to understand what it is that brought them to that place. I ask and urge you to look around, open your eyes, and see where you can help in whatever small way possible. Blessed be.